and welcome back to the Flow Show. I'm Joanna Turner, Intuitive Business Mentor. And today we have a really awesome interview for you. I just recorded it. I am buzzing. It was so much fun. We had a great time. And I want to just tell you a little bit about Christine before we jump into that interview. So Christine, or Chris Williams, is owner and founder of Shine Wellness LLC, a 7-figure women-owned company dedicated to empowering women coaches and wellness professionals to create soul-led and heart-centered 6-figure businesses without the hustle and sales tactics that feel so out of alignment for so many women. She's known for cultivating community, connections, collaborations that inspire and create win-wins for everyone. As part of her Soulful Abundance System, she weaves the abundance mindset and soul-fueled strategy along with a simple system to create 10K months and beyond without trading your well-being or integrity for success. She teaches you to keep things simple and focus on the power of one, to let go of self-doubt, become more infinitely confident and believe in yourself and how powerful and capable you really are. And value your unique brilliance, and then take inspired action so you can create a magnificent life you love while being paid by well paid by serving others. Beautiful. And it was just that. We dived into her soulful sales, all about that, how she nurtures her clients and really creates a beautiful business that is in alignment. And it just is, it's just really a really cool conversation about that, and so many really great reminders about the ways sometimes we can trip ourselves up or make mistakes when we are growing a service-based online business. So it's a really powerful conversation. I found it great, even though I've been doing this for 10 years. So depending where you are in your journey yourself, I hope you find it really valuable. Also, we talk a little bit, Chris started out with a big career change at 45. And so she's definitely somebody who has created massive success a little bit later on in life, especially, for women. We feel, if you've not done it by whatever certain age, then the game's up. But she has done all of this a little bit later, which is very inspiring. And her energy is just great. And the funny thing is, we connected. She had a whole story about Scotland and the places she visited when she came over to get married here. So that is a really lovely connection in with the story we have been talking about up until now. And so yeah, I love that the synchronicity of that conversation that we had, and that she has been to Scotland and brings that piece of the puzzle with her. Another really cool, I know I've been sort of taking you guys along the journey of the synchronicities that have fallen into place around the retreat that I'm hosting in Scotland in September. And there's another piece of the puzzle that fell into place. I'll tell you very quickly before we dive into this interview. So 2 people on the weekend sent me a little video, and it was on Robert Edward Grant's. It was actually Janine, one of the people that have been on this podcast, and she's a great episode, I think quite early on within the first 10 of the podcast, definitely worth a listen. And she sent me this video from Robert Edward Grant, and he is up at Urquhart Castle with Matthias de Stefano. And you might have heard in one of my other podcasts that Robert Edward Grant shared in another podcast with Alex Ferrari that his ancestors were linked to Urquhart Castle, and it is part of the Orion constellation in Scotland, which is linked to Egypt. And also Clava Cairns is linked as well to the Giza Plateau and the Great Pyramids. So it's like Scotland's version of the Giza Plateau, which is crazy. And some of the stuff that Matthias was sharing just blew my mind. I was like, oh my goodness, this is more of a reason to be going and in this time slot, which was just bananas. So he was sort of explaining that if you think of Europe as like a body, I didn't get all of the notes down, but if you think of it as a body, then I think Portugal was one hand or one palm I can't remember what Spain was. France was the chest, and Scotland was the other palm of this thing. And then within the palm, Loch Ness specifically within Scotland represents the pineal gland. And the pineal gland, I'm sure you're aware, is where we have our spiritual connection to the divine. And we have had it systematically, the bad guys have been trying to block up our pineal gland, and things like fluoride, glyphosate, Wi-Fi, what's the other one? And aluminium, all contribute to calcifying your pineal gland. If you have a calcified pineal gland, you are losing your spiritual connection. You lose your soulfulness. And so all of these different pieces of the puzzle come together. And really we're in this time of awakening. The planet is, so many people are having awakenings and being drawn specifically to Loch Ness, which is doing this big sort of activation of the pineal gland of Europe, of the world, which I just find incredible. And Loch Ness is literally just a couple of miles down the road of where the lodge is that we're going to be staying. So that is very exciting to me. And he was talking about Loch Ness Monster, and he was saying, and I've been talking about the dragon all the time about this this retreat. It keeps coming back to the dragon and the dragon lines and the awakening of the dragon this year. And he was saying, the Loch Ness Monster, it's not a monster, it's a representation of the water dragon. And I was like, of course it is. And he was like, it's all about the Loch Ness is one of the deepest lochs in Scotland, if not the deepest, and it is said to be as deep as the mountains around it are tall. So it's a very, very deep loch, and it represents, and the water dragon, the Loch Ness, represents all of the sort of hidden, suppressed emotions under the water. And he said you have to face the dragon underneath to find and go into the deepest, darkest places to find the spark of light, which I thought was just so perfect. And so he really, for him, the whole of Loch Ness is about finding consciousness for the planet. And I was just like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And then he was also talking a little bit, which I feel like I need to listen to him talk about it 10 times to really grasp. But he was talking about Switzerland being the heart of this body, right? If Scotland's a palm and France is a chest, and I think Spain was the head or whatever. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, about clavicurens. So he was saying that there's something about clavicurens, which is where we're going, right? Where Claire in Outlander went through the stones back in time. He says, so Geneva is the heart, but it's also the capital of time, right? Watches are made in Switzerland, right? And there's something about the link between Switzerland and the clavicurens where we need to go there to do the work, to do the healing work for the planet, to heal time. So there is a piece of the puzzle that he was talking about Hermetic and Arcturian templates, and through this portal, through the Orion portal, connected to the clavicurens, we have to go there to heal time. And I was like, okay, wow, okay, I had no idea. That's why I was feeling so called there and feel like I have to go and run this retreat and take the specific people there to do so. So if that resonates at all, then let me know. So the early bird is on until the end, I think around the solstice. I will double check that, but yeah, the early bird pricing is on until the solstice. So if you are interested, definitely get in touch and we'll get that organized. So just wild. Just amazing, all these connections, and the fact that Christine had a beautiful story to tell about that exact region as well, and that she's been there. She's American, but I'm like, of course you came to Scotland to get married. Of course you did. Right. So I hope you enjoy this interview. Let me know your thoughts. And as always, thank you so much for being here. And we appreciate all shares and 5-star reviews, of course. And anyone who needs to hear this, please send it on. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy. Take care. Bye. I'm here today with the incredible Christine, or Chris Williams. Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here. Chris, it's a beautiful connection. I'm so excited to talk to you. I was just telling Chris, I've been in her world the last couple of days. There is so much goodness, so much wisdom, and I am so excited to hear your story and the connection. And we've got a really cool little Scottish connection to talk about as well. So before we dive into that, though, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in this in the coaching industry? I know you've built an incredible 7-figure brand, but it wasn't always like that, right?
No, not even close. I didn't even have the intention originally to go into coaching. That wasn't even on my radar when I first, started my business. I was married for 17 years, went through a divorce, and had to decide what it is that I wanted to do to start making money, to take care of me and to take care of my children. And I had been a stay-at-home mom for all of those 17 years, homeschooling my kids. Previously, before I got married, I was in the corporate world. And so I just, had to make a decision. What do I want to do? I could go back to corporate. And I'm like, you know what? I just don't want to. And so I decided to, ask myself, all right, what can you do that you would love and that would actually provide an income for you? And so I went to massage school because I've always been into natural healing and wellness. I've taught yoga classes prior to that, but I knew that it was going to be really difficult to make a full-time income, just teaching part-time yoga classes. So I went to massage school, got my certification, and opened up my own business because I wanted to work on my own time frame. And it was that kind of led from one step into the other step. So as I was building my massage therapy practice, I came upon nutritional therapy. And I have, taught my kids how to cook. We've always been, whole food foodies and very, very into health and wellness and nutrition. And my clients were asking me about nutrition. And so I decided to go ahead and get certified in that so that I could feel credible and have the letters after my name as a functional nutritional therapist. And so I did that and began to weave that into my business, except that there was a piece that I really felt was missing. And that is, you can tell people what to do, but they don't always follow through. Right. Mm-hmm. And so there was a transformational habit change piece that I really felt was missing in order for me to help my clients get results. So I went back to school again, got certified in transformational health and life coaching, which kind of gave me more of the habit change, the mindset, the NLP work to kind of help people see, what self-sabotage things were coming up. And so I started building and growing my business by weaving those things in. And it just started really taking off. My coaching practice started growing very rapidly. I began collaborating with doctors, holistic health practitioners that were local to me, chiropractors, integrative doctors. And all of a sudden, some of my colleagues and people that were also coaches came to me, starting to ask me for, what am I doing? How am I building my business so fast? How am I creating success? And so it was probably, let's say I got certified in 2015. And so it was about 3 years when, 2018, people started asking me more about what it was that I was doing and how I was growing. And I said, I'm happy to share what I'm doing. Like, I really believe in the generosity game. I believe the more support and help that we offer others. And I had no intention of going into business coaching. And it just organically morphed into that because more and more people started coming. And so I started saying, all right, I need to kind of like reverse engineer what I'm doing so that there can be a specific process that I can guide people through and tell them exactly what are the steps that I'm taking that I know are not just going to help them get to 6 figures, but also get to multiple 6 and 7 figures in their business if they want. And so it just kind of organically moved in that direction. Yeah.
I love that. It's so beautiful. And one of the pieces that really shone through when I was listening to your content and podcast was this generosity piece. Can you speak a little bit more about how you, I suppose it's a pillar or value in your business, how you've weaved that in and what you do to show up like that?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for asking about that because that is really a big pillar. One of my main pillars is service first. And I've always been, it's been important to me to play what I like to call the generosity game. And the generosity game is, how can we help other people win? Right? Because when we
Mm,
are in the energy of helping others win, we're actually in the energy of abundance. And then when we're
mm,
in that energy, people naturally want to, reciprocate. People naturally want to help you too. And so it's not like an intention of, ooh, what am I going to get? It's simply an intention of, I know that the generosity that I give out is going to come back to me in some way, shape, or form. It might not come back exactly in the same way that it's given, but I believe in not just a pie, right? I don't believe in one pie, and that if I take a bigger piece, there's less for other people, or if I give them my information and they use it, there's less for me. I don't believe
right.
in that because I believe that's very scarce. I believe that's not helpful. And so I believe in a bakery. It's like we've got plenty of pies. We can make more whenever we need. If we don't need pies, we can bake cake or cookies or bread or whatever it is. But there's
Yeah,
always an opportunity to help each other win, and that feels so much better to do business that way because now you're not in fear, you're not in scarcity, you're
right.
not worried if someone's client. You're not worried if someone is going to, steal your copy. Honestly, I give my clients my copy. I'm like, use it, tweak it, make it
Yeah,
so it's, helpful to you. Feel free if anything's resonating to you to use it because the truth is nobody has a specific original idea that we haven't learned from somebody else.
right.
Right. And so I
Absolutely.
just been sharing and when I'm in that energy, it just makes it so much more fun, more relaxed, and that energy is actually very attractive. So it attracts more abundance and opportunities and wealth into my world.
Oh, I love that. I'm so all about that. Um, and I feel like it links really nicely into this other piece that you talk about quite a lot is this your soulful sales. Because I think so many
Mm-hmm.
people when we're starting out, and I had a very similar story to you starting out actually. I started as a health coach, didn't think I was going to become a business coach, and then it just quickly morphed in. I also saw that gap in my training and my health coaching. So I was like, I have not been trained on that pattern and behavioral change piece. So I went and got trained in NLP as well. So I really resonate with your story and how it's kind of built on. And but coming from that place of when I first started and I wanted to give and I wanted to help people, but I had this real challenge of selling. And it was not in
Mm-hmm.
my it didn't come naturally to me. I used to be an accountant, and so at the beginning it felt really, really sticky and really difficult. It's something I have become a whole heck of a lot better at, partly because of putting in your that kind of idea about the generosity and I'm just here, to serve, and it's not about me and all this kind of stuff. But what else does why do you think people struggle with sales? And what is
Yeah.
some of your sort of piece of the puzzle with your soulful sales strategy that is helpful for people?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love this question so much, Joanna, because I think this is going to be helpful for so many listeners. The truth is, we all struggle in the very beginning with sales because we have been taught a very masculine, outdated method of making sales. That's just the truth.
Oh
As
my
a matter of
gosh.
fact, it was outdated back in 2015 when I went through, the health coaching school that I went to. And
Yeah.
so, it just first of all, their information hasn't been updated and there's not enough people out there teaching that it doesn't have to be, how are you going to, give away a 1 hour coaching session in order to sell your 90-day program? That is very transactional based. It's not relational based. And so really that's what we've learned. We've learned a very masculine transactional based marketing technique and sales technique that doesn't resonate for a lot of us,
Mhm.
especially those of us that have a heart to serve,
Yeah.
especially those of us in the wellness industry. And it didn't work for me. And it didn't feel good to me. And so I stopped and I'm like, nope, not doing it. There's got to be a better way. And so I really did learn a much different way. And the key is that it is relational, not transactional. And the
Mm,
missing piece that I've incorporated is this nurture piece. It's not about how do I get a stranger to buy my program. It's about how do I invite somebody into my ecosystem, into my world, serve them generously, give them value, connect with them, build a relationship first. And I like to think of it, I use this analogy for my clients, so this might be helpful. Think of your offers as a mansion, right? It's like you've got your
Mm-hmm.
mansion, you've got different rooms in your mansion. Each different room is a different offer. And then from your house, from your mansion, you've got this beautiful pathway that leads along to a sidewalk. And along the pathway, you've got chairs or benches. Our job is to get the attention of the people that are on the sidewalk and get their attention to say, oh, that is a beautiful bench. I think I'm going to turn down this pathway and have a seat on the bench and just experience it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What we were taught was we're supposed to run out of our mansion, drag somebody from the sidewalk into one of the bedrooms in the mansion to try to sell our thing. And no wonder it feels like crap. No wonder
Oh,
it
it's
feels sticky,
awful.
because it is sticky, right? It is. You're trying to sell your thing. And so you're making it about you. You're making it about the transaction. You're not making it all about the client. And so the process that I teach is, no, let's just, invite them to have a seat. Let's give them value. Let's connect with them. Let's talk to them. Let's get to know what it is that they're looking for. Maybe we invite them to another bench, right? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
there's another piece of value that we, maybe there's another piece of training. Maybe we invite them into our Facebook group. Maybe we invite them into, listening to one of our podcasts. Maybe we give them another freebie opt-in that is going to serve them where they are, not just what
Yeah.
we want to pop out there, but really listening to
Yeah.
where are they so that we can help them. And so we allow them to stay. That's part of the nurture process, is having that pathway with multiple benches where we can just be a real person, connect authentically. This is about having conversations. It's not about selling anything. And then at the right time, we can invite them up onto the front porch. So I'm in North Carolina. We love front porches and rocking chairs. And so at the
Love
right
that.
time,
Yep.
I'm going to invite somebody to have a conversation with me up on my front porch and say, okay, how can I support you? They're not going to come up to my front porch unless they're interested in what I have inside my mansion, right?
Yeah.
And so I just get to sit down and I just get to listen and say, where are you? What are you looking for? And then I get to say, okay, great. Here are your options. We've got the penthouse where we're serving the champagne and the strawberries. If you want more of a group or a meeting out on the pool at 6:00 tonight, having a barbecue or whatever, right? And so I can let them know which is an option that is going to help them get their goals the best. And that actually makes it really about them, makes it not about me, makes it about them. And, if they decide that none of those rooms work for them at that time, that's okay. They can hang out on the pathway and hang out on any benches for as long as they want and stay in my world and stay into my ecosystem, because I know that, and again, in today's market, and this is really important, we know that it takes 11 hours of actually interaction with somebody before they're going to become a buyer, which means that
Mm-hmm.
when they come into your ecosystem, even, nurturing them, it's going to take 6 to 12 months. So if you do not have this nurture pathway with multiple benches and you're still trying to just, get sales calls and turn them into a buyer, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
People don't like that. People don't want to give you an hour of their time not knowing you. People are
Yeah.
more than happy to give you an hour of their time if they've had an experience of you, if they already know you, if they like you, if they trust you, and if they're interested in how you can help them. So that's the big shift of a more feminine approach, where we are leading with value, leading with our heart, making it about how can we actually serve and support somebody, and understanding that there is a client pathway that happens. People do not become buyers once they're strangers. They actually do go through multiple series of steps. And once I learned that, it changed everything. It actually
Yeah.
allowed me to go from, I remember when I implemented it, I went from 150 to over $600,000 in my business in 1 year.
Wow, that's amazing. And I bet that 150 had
Yeah.
been so much harder to get to. And then the 600 probably felt relatively easy after that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, wow, okay. Yeah, this actually works. And the cool thing is that it was fun. I
Yeah.
wasn't dreading discovery sessions. I don't know about you, but when I had to book those 1 hour discovery sessions to try to sell my thing, I secretly wished they wouldn't show up. Like, I secretly wish that maybe they would just ghost me, because I'm like,
Right.
I have to sell my thing today. And
Yeah.
now that I don't have that, I'm
Yeah.
super excited to talk with people. I'm super excited to connect with them and see what's going on. And it's because I've taken the first of all, taken the pressure off of me of needing to sell my stuff,
Yeah.
and instead really just allow me to make it about them. And I also know that the sale, when somebody says yes, the sale is just the end part, right? The sale is just them saying, yes, I want support. And, it's really more important to actually invite somebody into having support. And so when we make that our priority, instead of abandoning them, which, I call this, we just abandon them on Pain Island because we're afraid to actually invite them,
Right.
either into our ecosystem or invite them into having support because we're scared of sounding salesy. Right. But really what we're doing is we're making that about us, and we're just abandoning them in their trouble. And so that's not effective either.
Absolutely not. And I'm just remembering some of the most dreadful, when I started out, it was about 2014, and I was being taught that same thing. And I had actually had Facebook ads running straight to book a discovery call. And what happened was it would pop up on someone's phone. They'd go, oh, a free call. Oh, they put their details in, book a time. And I'd be like, oh, I have 15 discovery calls this week. And then I would jump on the phone or try and get hold of them. And they're like, I'm in a car. They don't remember. They've not put it in their diary. They don't even know who I am that's phoning them at this time that they've signed up for. It was awful, like seriously bad. And then, to then try and convince them or like convey the value that I was offering when they had just randomly signed up for this free call that they'd seen, show up in their ads on Facebook or whatever. It was horrible. So I really, I definitely agree with you on your method and switched mine over pretty quickly as well. But I would love, just for an example, would you be able to share what some of your benches are on the path? Like what an example of what those things might be?
Absolutely. So, some example of my benches are, I've got I've got multiple, free opt-ins for people if they just want to learn, what are the business basics to help them get to 10K months. So that's one bench where, people can just download the business basics checklist. That way they know what are the right things to focus on at the right time. The key with your benches is that you have to make it valuable and relevant to your ideal client, which means you have to really know who it is that you're talking to, right? This isn't just about, oh, let me just give you some free stuff. It has to be valuable, relevant, congruent with helping your client, your most ideal client, get the results. So what I know is that my people that come into my world are not really sure what the needle movers are to focus on a daily basis in order to create income in their business. And so I'm like, okay, let me create this for you. So I created the business basics for 10K months. And then the other question that I get all the time is, where do I find clients? And so I just decided to do a 4-day training on this is how to find clients, how to find paying clients that are the right clients that are excited and willing to invest with you in any economy. And that one has just been like crazy. Like people are loving that. And I give it away. Like, here you go. Yeah. Here's a 4-day training. We have a workbook that goes with it. And that gives people an opportunity to have, an experience. The other thing that I think is really important to be a part of your bench is actually, I love Facebook groups. I know people say Facebook is not working anymore. That's just not true. As a matter of fact, Facebook groups are on the rise, and people want to feel a part of something, and they want to feel a sense of belonging, and they want to be a part of a community. So I have a free Facebook group that any of my freebies will then invite them to and say, hey, if you want more, come join me inside of my free Facebook group. Live trainings every single week. I do freebie Fridays every single week. I answer questions in the chat every single day. So it's a way for me to just continue to serve and support the right client, right? So that's what makes Facebook groups so special, is it's only for your ideal client. It's only for the people that you can most help. So you're really strategically focused on the people that are going to get the best results by working with you. And you can qualify them before you hop on a call with them, right? Like I don't invite somebody onto the porch swing with me until I know that they're already qualified, they're interested, and they've had this nurtured experience. and they've asked for more information and they want to actually learn how to work with me.
Yeah, beautiful. Oh, doesn't that just feel so much better? It just feels so much
Oh,
lighter
yeah.
and easier. And it's just, it makes so much sense. It's beautiful.
Mhm.
I love that. And just while we're talking about them, where is the best place? I'm not winding up yet, but where would be the best place to find those things if people are like, okay, they sound great. Where can I get them?
Yeah. So we do have them inside of our Facebook group. So it's Holistic Business Abundance. You can find us on Facebook, and Joanne's got the link. I'm sure we'll pop it in the show notes, so you can click
Absolutely.
there.
Yeah.
And then and then you can always personally reach out to me anytime. Just say, hey, Chris, I want that business basics checklist, or I want the where to find paying clients. I'm happy to share it with you anytime.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I will pop all that in the show notes so you can get it super easily.
Sure. Yeah. We also have, just a quick reminder, I just remembered, we just created a brand new page on my website for resources. So
nice.
we're putting all of our free resources on one page so people can go there and just kind of, grab whatever it is that they feel that they need.
Perfect. Oh, that's great.
Mhm.
So what do you think, let's see. So for somebody that's starting out, what do you think are maybe some of the number one mistakes they make when they're trying to get their business to that 10K mark? Like,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that I see. One is feeling like you need to have either a course or a program or a membership built out first before you actually invite people to work with you. That's a big mistake for multiple reasons. Number
yeah.
one, if you're trying to build a 10K business with a membership, which is a low priced model, or, or a low priced course, you do not have the audience enough to actually help you get to 10K a month. So if you're focusing on trying to build a membership or a course that's only $97, you've got to sell a lot of $97 every single month with new clients every single month. And considering that the people that come into your ecosystem, if you're trying to convert them on email, they're only converting at 1%. So we're looking at a lot of people, which means that you either need to invest heavily in ads or in some other way, or you don't, and you start building your audience organically and invite people into a higher tier offer so that you can start creating income and cash in your business. And then later at some point, if once you start hitting that 6-figure revenue consistently, then that's the time to build out a lower course or a membership. But we don't start there. That's not the place to start. And I think a lot of things that people don't know is they think it's going to be easier to sell a $97 offer. They think that if they build it, they're naturally just going to pop into it. But because they see all of these coaches online having amazing success, what they don't see is that the coaches online that have amazing success are actually funding it with either $50,000 to $100,000 a month in ads. And you're nowhere, when we start a business, we're nowhere near being able to fund that.
No.
So yeah, you have to have the audience. So we want to make sure that we start to, with a business model that is going to support you to get to 6 figures. And that means you need a high tier offer, a middle tier offer, and then you can have what I call like a bite size offer, which is something that you might, would be, think of it as like a paid session that helps them create some sort of result in one session.
Yeah.
And that would be for the person who's not quite ready to move into your top tier or your middle tier offer.
Nice. Beautiful. Yeah. Absolutely. And I agree so much with all of that. Yeah. It's quite deceptive, I think. People, about where to start. It feels like it should be easier, but it's definitely not.
They don't. Yeah, it is very, very deceptive, and the truth is there's nothing passive about building and growing a business. So I really get fired up when I hear all of the, marketing that I see out there that is, make money in your sleep, make passive income. There's nothing ever going to be passive about making income. I think it's actually a lot harder to sell a $97 offer than it is to sell a $15,000 offer personally. It's a lot easier for me to sell a $15,000 offer than it is to sell a $97 offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good mindset to have. That's a good and
Yeah.
belief to hold, right? What would you say are some of the
Yeah. And I
other?
think
Oh, go on, go
I was
on.
just going to say, I think the other thing that is a mistake that people
Yeah.
make is that they don't charge enough for services, right? They're like, oh,
Mm,
but I don't have any clients yet. I can't charge. I'm only going to charge like $500 for a 90-day program. And what they don't realize
mm-mm,
is that the average 90-day program in the market, and this was back in 2015, is actually $3,000. And
mm-hmm.
when you are creating a program that is a high touch offer that is going to give your person amazing service and help them to create momentum and give them access to you, that one-on-one rate for a 90-day program should really be priced at 3,000 or higher.
Yeah,
So many are
absolutely.
undercharging.
So many.
Yeah.
Why do you think
Hmm.
that is? Like, what do you think underlies the reason people undercharge?
Hmm. Yeah. I think it's a couple things. I think number one, this is brand new for them. And so they're not feeling confident that they can help their clients get results,
Right.
right? They think that if they charge more, that somehow they have to guarantee that somebody is absolutely going to get results, like no ifs, ands, or buts, right? And
Right.
so there's a lot of pressure that they put on themselves that, gosh, if I'm charging that much money, now the responsibility is on me to make sure that they get the results. And what if they don't? So there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of fear there. There's a lot of imposter syndrome there. When in reality, what you're doing as a coach is it's not our job to make sure that somebody implements what it is that we're teaching them. It's our job to
Mm-hmm.
hold the space for them. It's our job to support them. It's our job to, help them overcome the challenges. But ultimately, the results are our client's responsibility. We can give them everything that they need, but I can't jump inside your body and do the work for you. So we need our clients to actually implement. And when we realize that really what we're creating for them is a container of support,
Mm-hmm.
and we're collapsing the timeline for them. We've done all the research that they don't need to do. The truth is, anybody who wants to either build a business or lose weight or have a better relationship or fill in the blank can Google it online or read books. So
Mm-hmm.
why aren't people getting results? Because they don't have support from a coach, they don't
Yeah.
have the accountability, and they're not implementing. And
Yeah.
so when we look at it from that is what we are offering to our clients. We're offering the
Yeah.
support, the accountability, the right steps in the right order, and putting it together in a way that is going to help them to collapse the timeline so that they get results much faster than if they could do it themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness. And I think there's a piece there that I don't want to just gloss over because I think it was such an important point you made about feeling like it's your responsibility to get your clients results. And at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of my business, I was a little caught up in that. And I think it's difficult as a
Yeah.
very new coach not to be, partly because you don't know if you're any good or not. Right? So you're sort of testing yourself
Yeah.
out on your first few clients. And so you kind of you want them and sort of need them to get results to figure out if your coaching is any
Mm-hmm.
good. So it's a very tricky, I think, dynamic at the
Yeah.
beginning to deal with, but then you have to sort of
Mm-hmm.
extricate yourself from it. And I was sort of at the point where I was able to say, I'm going to show up 100% for you in my capacity. But I would notice that I could show up and do a brilliant session with somebody, or with two people, say. One would go and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, have a, 4 or 5 figure week, and the other
Mm-hmm.
would have no result at all. And
Yeah.
and I'm like, I gave the same thing to both of those people. So
Information.
can
Mm-hmm.
you speak a little bit about
Mm-hmm.
that dynamic, and yeah, what people can sort of do or how to think about it in a different way?
Yeah, sure. So we're always going to have people coming into our programs, whether we're coaching on health or wellness or business or weight loss or relationships, that are not willing to implement. And honestly, we have to realize that again, and look, a lot of coaches, then start getting really frustrated and they want to like burn down their business because they're like, my people just won't take action. So, that is something that we have to realize, that there's going to be a certain percentage of people that are going to do that. There's going to be a certain percentage of people that are going to make an
Mm-hmm.
investment and not follow through and not do the work. But, I think what really helped me and what helps my clients when I was first starting out is I looked at it from the perspective of, I have the training, I have the certification, I am way further down the freeway than the client that I'm working with. I know much more in this realm to help them take the steps that they need to take. I don't need to have it all figured out. I get to show up and share the information and be able to support them along their journey and support them along the way. So it's not about being perfect. It's about allowing yourself to sit in the expert role, even if you don't feel like an expert, because you do have the training, you have the certifications, you do know more than the person that you're supporting. And so naturally you are going to help them, whether it's in the form of education or epiphanies or ahas, or giving them another, step on their journey to create the results that they want.
Yeah, beautiful. So a couple other questions. What would you say are some of the underlying things that you've maybe found that cause people not to take the action? What do you think stops people from taking the action?
Yeah, it's all mindset. It really is. It's all the stories that we have playing in our head. That's one of the reasons why in my program and inside of my Soulful Abundance System, mindset's number one, right? Our formula for strategy is, or for abundance is the inner game, which is the thoughts that we're thinking, right? And the energy that we're in, that always comes first, plus the strategy, which is the outer game, which is the strategy and the implementation, right? So if we're not implementing, we haven't actually done the inner game work. And it's the inner game work that is actually keeping us from actually, implementing, whether that's imposter syndrome, whether that's fear, whether that's whatever it is, there's some sort of story that's playing in the background that is keeping you from taking action. And so we need to look at that. It's one of the reasons why we have mindset calls every single month. We've got mindset experts in our program because that's normal. We're going to get stuck along our way when we're in our head. And the problem is we don't recognize it, right? I have the analogy that we can't read the label when we're inside the bottle. We need somebody else to help us see where we're self-sabotaging, see and uncover, oh, you know what, you're right. I didn't look at it that way. So then we start retraining, framing our mindset and looking at, our actions from the perspective of it's something that is actually feeling good. It's feeling joyful. It's feeling easy. It's feeling fun versus, coming to our actions from the mindset of fear or doubt or worry or this isn't going to work or, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's great. And I see it all the time. All the time. It's the same story. And I know if I'm not doing something, then I have something to work on too, right? It doesn't mean we're miraculously healed or it goes away. Like it's a continuous process.
You know what? Thank you for saying that because I say that to my clients as well. As a matter of fact, we give them a daily alignment practice so that they are doing the inner game first, right from the very beginning. We call it our daily alignment practice. And it's because mindset work never stops. It's like a muscle, right? If you want to build muscle, you have to go to the gym and lift the weights. If you stop lifting the weights, you're going to lose the muscle. So mindset is a continuous process. It's not like a light switch that you turn it on and go, oh, okay, that's solved. It's not. It is something that we have to continuously work on a daily basis. And I do that with myself. I wake up in the morning and I ask myself, all right, Chris, what do you get to do today? And what energy do you want to be in? Who do I get to serve today? And that sets me up for the energy, that feels really, really good to me, which brings abundance to me, which is I get to be in the energy of generosity. I get to be in the energy of service. I get to ask myself, what are the thoughts that are going to create the feelings that allow me to feel calm, relaxed, confident, right? And when we put those on repeat over and over and over, the brain starts making those new neural pathways so that they become more habitual. And so we don't, think about, oh my God, it's today. And what am I going to do today? And I'm not sure what I'm going to do today or, any of the fearful thoughts that come up. We really do start retraining the brain, which is a beautiful thing that the brain is capable of doing.
Absolutely. So, so important. Now, I have a question
Mm-hmm.
here, and it's a little sensitive, but you started your coaching business a little bit later in life, and
Mm-hmm.
I would love for you to speak into a little bit about, and you've been very successful at it, and I don't know really of too many people who start a little bit later but have the success that you've had. And I would love you if you could just speak a bit into the mindset of that, because I would hate for anybody listening to think that it's too late for them to start or switch careers or any of those things. And yeah, I would just love to get your perspective on that, because I think it can, they say sort of your dreams die at 25, and I had my career change in my mid 30s. But yeah, I would love to know your story around that, or anything you could share about that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, happy to share. So, yeah, I went through my divorce when I was around 45. So, I really had to recreate and reinvent and decide what it was I was going to do when I was 45. And so, and I didn't, cross the $1 million mark until I was 50. So, I think the key for me was that I believed that I could create it, and I wasn't focused on, actually, I was not focused at all about getting to $1 million, right? I was actually focused on, what am I going to do today? What am I going to do for this month? What am I going to do for this quarter? And I actually also did things that I didn't realize until now in my business, how effective they were. But I followed people and asked questions of people and got in the rooms with people that could help me. So, I went to a massage therapist that I knew had successful businesses. And I said, I'm just starting out. How can I start building my list? How can I start building my clientele? What are some of the things that you did? And so I talked to multiple people to get their ideas and to see what it is that they worked. And, I didn't know at that time that what I was doing was I was actually learning from mentors, right? I just had friends in the industry that I knew were successful, and I wanted to learn from them. And so that is something that I've done throughout, my life, is I'm like, okay, this is something that I want to try, and I take action on it. And that's just so, so critical. I see so many people that wait until they're like, well, they overthink it. They overcomplicate the process. They never take action on it. And I am a fast action taker. So if I get an idea, I'm going to implement it, and I'm not going to be attached to the way it has to look. I'm going to implement it because I want to see what's going to happen. So I treat it more like an experiment. Like, all right, let me try this for 6 months. Let me try this for a quarter. Let me try this today and see what happens.
Love that.
Naturally, I'm in this space of learning and growing. And so I don't really have the fear of if it doesn't work. And then the truth is that if it doesn't work, I get valuable information from that too. Right. And I'm like, okay, that didn't work. So probably not going to do that again. What else could I do? What else would be fun? What's another step that I could take? What else could I ask? And so it was that process that, led me to hiring my very first business coach, even when I didn't have the money. Like, I legitimately was maxed out on my credit cards. I had $100 in my bank account, and that was it. But I liked this woman. I resonated with her. I liked her process. I liked the way that she was teaching. And so I was a hard yes for having her support. And I knew that I had to stop trying to popsicle stick and duct tape things together. I had to stop downloading, the gazillion, tactics from a gazillion different people and chasing the bright and shiny things that were out there, and really learn from one main person and hone in and go all in on that.
Yeah.
And so, and that's what I did. And that is what I do to this day. I will always work with a coach or a mentor that is going to help me get to the next level. So I work with people that are, multiple steps ahead of me. And I try to get in the room with people who are multiple steps ahead of me so that I can learn and I can ask questions and I can continue to grow.
That's beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. So powerful. So powerful. So a couple more questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
how do
absolutely.
you overall?
Okay.
Oh, great. This is brilliant. I'm loving it. So how do you feel about money? How do you feel about money?
Yeah. I love money.
I
I
love that.
actually do. I really love money. And, I actually do a training with my clients on this too, because there is this kink that we put in the hose of our own wealth attraction and abundance if we don't have a good relationship with money.
Hmm.
Right. If we don't give it attention, I mean, think about it. If you have a friend or a spouse, and if you don't like them, you're not going to give them attention. If you're scared of them, you're not going to focus on them.
Hmm.
You're not going to want to be around them, right? So it's the same type of thing with a relationship with money. We need to have a positive relationship with money. We need to
Hmm.
trust that it's going to be there when we need it. We need to trust that we can create it and it's available when we need it, right? We have to
Yeah.
trust in that relationship, and we have to actually nurture that relationship. We have to pay attention to it,
Yeah.
right? So, I actually love money. I love money not for money's sake. I love money for what it allows me to do. I love money
Mm.
because it allows me kids to go to college. It allows me to take my family on trips to Scotland, to France, to Iceland. It allows me to give back
Right.
to my community. When
Hmm.
COVID hit in 2020, because I have a good relationship with money and I'm not worried about giving because I know that more is going to come in, I gave away $20,000 worth of cash and programs and services to help other women. And
Beautiful.
again, that's in the energy of abundance. And when we have a
Hmm.
relationship with money like that, and we trust that it can come in, we also get to trust that it can flow out and we can share and serve that way.
Yeah.
And when we're trying to build our business and we don't have a good mindset about money, it's like we're putting our foot on the gas pedal of the car to make it go. But then we're also pushing on the brake and saying, but I can't receive money, but it's not good for me to receive money. But if I
Yeah.
receive money, I'm not really a heart centered entrepreneur because I would just give all of my time and energy away, right? That's just
Yeah.
that's a wounded place of
Absolutely.
relationship with money.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've used that analogy before, the one foot on the accelerator, the other on the brake or the gas, or yeah, it's that is a recipe for burnout and a very scary thing. So um
Yeah.
that's brilliant. So I would love to know so I shared just before we jumped on that I have been having I've been on this planetary grid work journey, and I'm back in
Hmm.
Scotland where I'm being pulled to different sacred sites in Scotland and doing the work. I would love to hear your story about how you ended up getting married in Scotland. You said there was some beautiful flow coincidences. I would love to hear about that.
Yeah. Oh, so fun. So Scotland has always been one of those beautiful, mystical, magical places for me. I've always wanted to go. From reading, stories about the Mist of Avalon and, the beautiful countryside that I've seen pictures for. And then even reading, amazing books like the Outlander series and things like
Yay.
that. And so after my divorce, I actually met my now husband. We got remarried. And before we got married, we were, thinking, all right, how do we want to get married again? Right. Like this is our second marriage. And we actually got engaged out in California. So he asked me to marry him in a vineyard in a hot air balloon. It was so
Oh,
beautiful, so
beautiful.
romantic. And I know. And so when we got back to North Carolina, we were like, you know what? Maybe we should find a vineyard. Like that would be fun. Like we got engaged in a vineyard. Why don't we find something close by? And as we were researching it, the pricing was like outrageous. And I was like, oh, hell no. Like we haven't even added the food in yet. And I'm like, oh my God, no, no, no. And so we were just talking, and my husband happened to just get this email, right? This is the flow
Hmm.
coincidence about that you could take to Ireland or Scotland. And it was an amazing price. And I said, honey, why don't we go to Scotland and get married? And he's like,
I love
yeah, let's do that. You've researched some places. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, and you know what? Let's just go, just you and me. I'm like, amazing. Let's do that. When we get home, we'll rent out the clubhouse. We'll have a big party for our friends and family and kids.
Perfect.
So that's what
Yeah.
we did. And so we started researching different places, and we found this beautiful castle called Glengorm Castle on the Isle of Mull in Tobermory. And it was
Beautiful.
so, so beautiful. And, the crazy thing about that is that, again, synchronicities happen. One of my clients who I actually work with today lived in Scotland, was friends with the owner and her children
Oh,
when
wow.
she lived in Scotland. And so it was so crazy. But we got married there, and when we traveled, we made that our honeymoon and our getting married in the same bunch. And we went to Glasgow and we went to Edinburgh and we went all over and drove and had a great 2 week beautiful vacation out there. And we also went up to the Battle of Culloden, which is where the Outlander books were.
Yes.
And I learned from my husband that he actually has a connection to the Fraser. So one of his great-great-grandmothers was actually a Fraser. So,
wow.
And the character in the book is actually Jamie Fraser, Alexander Mackenzie, blah, 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 right? So,
yes. I love that. It gives me chills. That's so fun. That's just crazy. I love that you went there. So we
got to see that. Mm-hmm.
It's such a special place. I went there as a child, and it's on the list of places we're going back to on my Scottish retreat. Mm-hmm. So it's very powerful, very potent energy, and I feel like a lot of leaders are, if they haven't already been, are being called to Scotland at the moment to spend time there. Did you go to Loch Ness by any chance when you were up at?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
So just this, sure. I think this is really interesting because I just found out a few days ago that it's actually the pineal gland represents the lake, the depths of the lake represent the pineal gland, which I did not know. Wow. So I think a lot of people are coming, it's all about awakening and sort of awakening our pineal gland and our spiritual connection and all of that kind of stuff. And I was just sharing as well before, it's that area with the clavicairns and Culloden are the centre of the Scottish pentagram. And one of the points on it is Iona, which you also travelled to. So I would love to hear a little bit about what was your experience there? What did you think of Iona?
Yeah, we actually didn't get to Iona. That was on our list to get to. Yeah. And what ended up happening was that, and the reason why I wanted to get there, as a matter of fact, we almost got married on Iona. That was it was between Iona and this castle. And what we found was that there's this very specific timeline for the ferries for when it goes over and comes back. Yeah. And so the day that we were scheduled to go, it turned out that we weren't going to actually be able to make that timeline. We weren't going to be able to get back. Right. And so that was something we had to put on our list. We're actually coming back to Scotland next year in 2025 for our 10-year anniversary.
Oh, beautiful.
And so we're going to go to the places that we haven't been. And, I've really been drawn to Iona because of the connection with Celtic Christianity there and the spiritual experience there and the connection with our creator and the divine and nature and all of those beautiful ways that kind of intersect there in this powerful spiritual experience. And so I cannot wait to go. I really wanted, that was on my bucket list, and that was the only thing that we didn't get to see when we were over there.
Wow. I love that you're coming back as well, because that is going to literally be right in the middle of this opening of the Dragon Lines of Scotland. They're open until 2026, so you're bang on schedule with your next visit. I know
when you we're going to be there.
It's so cool, and I get chills just thinking about it, because it feels very potent. It feels important for some reason as well. And we're looking into the geometry as well of some of these regions, and it has the same geometry as the pyramid, the Giza Plateau in Egypt as well. So there's a very strong link with from Culloden area, clavicairns back to Egypt as well. So there's a lot of interesting things happening, and I just love that people like yourself and other people in our industry are being drawn to these places, whether that it's just an interest or some intuitive hit or the synchronicities of being married to a freaking Fraser, like the Outlander dream. That's amazing. And can you just mention a little bit? Oh, I'd love to. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is really crazy. So one of the cool things when I met my husband was I have this Celtic charm. It's not this one that I'm wearing. I have a necklace that has this beautiful Celtic charm. And so I was wearing it one day when we were first starting to date, and he has the exact same tattoo on his shoulder.
Ooh,
and he looked at me. Yes, he said, we leave signs for each other through various lifetimes, right? I'm like,
Right.
I like this guy. He's pretty cool.
That's amazing. I
So
got
I was
chills
like, okay,
again when you
that's
shared
weird.
that. I love that.
So weird. Right? The
Oh,
exact same
that is
on
spooky. I
his
love
body.
that. I love that. That is just
Really.
another, more confirmation. How good is that?
Mm-hmm.
There was just one piece as well that I was
Mm-hmm.
just curious. You mentioned just before we jumped on as well about the where you live and the mountains near where you live. I wonder if you could just share a little bit about that,
Yeah.
just out of curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I live here in North Carolina. I've been here since 1993. It's always felt very special, especially the mountains. I'm a mountain girl. I really love being in the mountains. There's something very sacred and very special about being in the mountains, especially here in North Carolina. And I've traveled all over the world and I've traveled to multiple states. And there's just something very, very special about the Appalachian Mountains. And as I did more research, what I found is that the Appalachians are very, very old. They're very, very ancient. They are even older than, the Rocky Mountains and the ones that are steeper. Not only that, but the Appalachian Mountain Ridge goes all the way from North Carolina all the way up into Scotland.
Wow.
And I'm like, holy cow. So as I was diving more into the Outlander books, when I was reading them, it turns out that the characters, the family inside of the books, actually came from Scotland and they settled in North Carolina in the Appalachian Mountains on Fraser's Ridge, which is just where I live today in Boone, North Carolina. And so, we try to get into the mountains and in the Appalachians as often as possible. This whole area is just very, very magical. The level of trees and wildflowers and rare plants and flowers that you can find there are just unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I got chills when you were telling that story. I think from an outsider, I have spent a lot of time in the US, but I wouldn't say that I would say the Appalachians for me get quite a bad rap. Just from totally my ignorance, and I might not even have the right place, but I was thinking it's all I'd heard about the Appalachians was people drink a lot of Mountain Dew.
Shine, right? Yeah. Well, there are, core, people in the Appalachians. There are, they live in the holler, but that's not the entire Appalachians, right?
Yeah.
That's a smaller community piece.
Sure.
And, mountain range itself, it covers multiple forests, right? So multiple parks, multiple national parks are inside the Cherokee National Park and Forest, Pisgah National Forest, like all of these forests and national parks are actually located inside the Appalachian Mountain Range.
Wow.
So it's a really giant, it's a big range that stretches quite far.
Okay, you're inspiring me because I'd sort of mentally written it off just because of that one piece of random bit of information that I must have seen somewhere in a movie or a documentary or something, right? But it'd be the same as
poor Appalachian people.
Right, I know, I feel so dreadful, but that's just the picture I had, which is terrible. But you could say very similar things about Scotland as well. I was saying to somebody about our retreat, I was like, we're going to have some beautiful Scottish food. And she's like, what, fried Mars bars and haggis? And I was like, we have other things as well, So, yeah,
well,
I understand
the interesting thing about North Carolina in particular with the Appalachian
pigeonholing
Mountains
or ideas that people can get for sure.
Oops, sorry. I think we froze for a minute. I'm so sorry, Joanna. I was talking over you.
That's okay. No, go for
it. The interesting thing about the Appalachians in North Carolina here is that many immigrants came over here and they brought their music over here too. So we have Scottish immigrants. We have Irish immigrants, specifically those two. Scottish and Irish immigrants that brought their music over here. And so when you do go back into, the backwoods, or you're listening to folk music that is from, the couple hundred years ago, you'll hear, that is what was, brought over from other places in the world. And so it's really quite beautiful.
Again, that's a really lovely way to sort of tie things up because I've talked a little bit in one of my episodes recently about the Highland clearances and how so many Scottish and Irish people were quite forcibly sent away to the States. And I kind of joke that everybody has a Scottish granny, and there's your husband literally has a Scottish great granny or whatever.
Yep,
So you're right, everybody has one. So we joke, but thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom and story, and I really appreciate it. And I'm sure people will be, if they haven't already dived into the show notes to grab some of the things you've been sharing, I'm sure they will now. I know we're friends on Facebook, and they'll find you on Instagram and your website, and I'll pop those into the show notes. And there was one other piece I saw that you had just popped up that you were promoting was, I think it's a workshop on collaborations made easy, and that's June 18th.
Yeah.
Is that right? So I should have this up in the next couple of days, if not later today. I'm going to try, and it should be before June 18th. So hopefully they would be able to jump in on that as well. So we'll get all that hooked up as well. So thank you so much.
It's how I built my coaching. Sorry.
It's so important.
Collaborations are so
so important.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you,
and
thanks for
I love
having
that.
me.
You're so welcome. And if you're back in Scotland next year, look me up, and maybe we could grab some lunch or something. That'd be wonderful.
Oh, for sure. I want to go on one of your retreats. Are you kidding? Yeah.
It'd be amazing.